Welcome to Financial Focus, brought to you by Gulf Coast Financial Services founder and CEO, John Kuykendall. John and his team of financial, legal, and tax professionals have provided North Florida savers and investors sound, comprehensive financial guidance for over 25 years, helping you to achieve important life and planning goals. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for more Financial Focus by visiting GulfCoastFinancial.net.
And welcome into the program. This is Financial Focus, brought to you by the best of the best in financial services, as named 7 years and running by the readers of the Lake City Reporter, the team from Gulf Coast Financial Services. Founder and CEO John Kuykendall here with us, providing us the guidance and perspective to help uncomplicate the financial world. John, it's a big task under normal circumstances, and I'm sure the last couple years have been no easy undertaking either.
Well, Peter, you're right, because in 2020, of course, we had COVID. 2021, we had Bitcoin, we had the meme stocks, and of course, we had the administration. And so all those things put into a combination, I think we're actually more of a tornado than COVID was. And COVID wasn't gone. So COVID continues to go on with us, and we'll just have to see where and when that ends, if ever.
Yeah, well, ladies and gentlemen, to help to clarify things, it's always great to have a plan in place that you can stick to, that you can refer back to when you have questions or when interesting challenges do arise. And the number one thing that John and his team do at Gulf Coast Financial Services is help their clients to put together and then continue to review and monitor and update that plan on an ongoing basis. If you would like to take advantage of that opportunity to have a review, to sit down and have a financial and retirement planning strategy session and get the plan put together, no cost, no obligation. For listeners of this program, just give a call, 386-755-9018. Reach out to the team from Gulf Coast Financial Services. They're happy to hear from you, talk over a few questions that you may have on your mind, and then sit down, put the pen to paper, put a plan together. 386-755-9018, the number to call, 386-755-9018. By the way, similar planning reviews to put the plan together can easily go upwards of $1,000 to several thousands of dollars. For that time, John and his team waive all fees that are associated with the planning process and the strategy session. Give a call, 386-755-9018. And John, to help people, today we were going to talk about 8 tips for retirement planning in 2022. Now, to preface this, I just have to ask the question, are these like time-tested types of strategies, or are these new and innovations for 2022 exclusively?
No, I don't think that they're certainly for 2022. They've been for as long as we've done planning. And as we continue to plan and we continue to progress in our knowledge, we continue to do more and more things. The first one, Peter, on this thing is to review your retirement plan. And I don't know how long you and I have said on this show that you have to have some type of roadmap or retirement plan that's going to help you as you progress to retirement. So many people think that I'm going to get to be 65, I'm going to go to the golf course every day, and then, on the weekends, I'm going to spend time with the kids. And the grandkids mainly. But, that's not, there's a lot more to retirement, as you and I know, than we ever thought it was, with Social Security and maximizing Social Security and Medicare. And how do I get my right Medicare? How do I get the right plan for me? All those things. Plus, how do I know that every month I'm going to have enough income to do the things that I really want to do? And, Peter, more and more, I think about Tom Hagney and that the 3 phases of retirement. And really, we can look at that in our retirement plan and say that our retirement plan's got 3 phases. Those phases are the go-go years. And the first phase, that's when I retire. I'm going to want to travel. I'm going to want to do things. I'm going to want to spend money. The second phase is the slow go. And that's where I kind of slow down. I don't want to spend as much money traveling. I want to stay home more. I want to do things locally. And then the final one is the no-go. And that's where you stay home and you're more worried about going to the doctor in the hospital than you are about your long-term care problems than you are about getting up every day. And so you need a retirement plan that's going to do those three phases of retirement.
But an arbitrary age, I am 65 years old, or an arbitrary number for a lump sum, I have this much money, does not constitute retirement readiness or preparedness, and does not constitute a plan, does it, John?
No, I mean, we can't say how much money do you need, how much money what's your number, as a television commercial said not long ago, a couple of years ago. What's your number? Well, I don't have a number. I may have a lifestyle that, I like to hunt and fish, and I can do that fairly reasonably and cheaply on my own land. So I don't need as much as if I'm going to go to Cabo or Mexico City or travel. I got one client that went to the Nile, and that was $40,000. So different people spend different amount of money, and so everybody's different. That's why we say everybody has to have a unique retirement plan, and everybody has to keep that plan updated. And that's what we're saying for 2022. The first thing is, if you don't have a retirement plan, get one. If you've got one, you've got to constantly reevaluate it. With inflation and all the things that are going on in the world today, we need to make sure that our plans are up to date.
Life changes, the world around us changes. We need to keep that plan up to date and reflect our current and the world's current and future potential situations. That plan is something that you can refer back to and make sure that you keep on track with that long-term planning outlook in your goals. And if you'd like to get that put together, again, give Gulf Coast Financial Services a call, 386-755-9018. John, tip number 2 for retirement planners in 2022, reassess your risk tolerance. That client you spoke of that took a trip to the Nile, they've got a little higher risk tolerance. I'm not sure if I would venture to the Nile.
Well, he's in his 90s, so I hope he gets back.
Wanted to see
it. Yeah, I'd like to talk to him. But, for the last couple of years, the market's been good. Everybody has had some gains, hopefully. And so our portfolios are really out of sync, Peter, as you know. We have the stocks that they have produced the gains. We may be more in large cap now. We may be more in tech than we were. And so if we have a downturn, you need to know what your risk tolerance is. And as I've always said, you can't rely on your neighbor or somebody else to tell you. Everybody has a risk number. And for me, that number is what you can sleep at night with, knowing that your money's invested and it's making as much as it can make based upon how comfortable you are sleeping. And if my portfolio only makes 4%, but I can sleep at night, then that's my risk tolerance number. But so many people, when the market's good, they want to invest in all tech stocks and all the growth stocks. And then the market takes a dip and then they call and say, hey, I got to get out of the market. And that's the wrong time. That's why the average investor makes a lot less than the returns of the market over time because of the knee-jerk reactions because of their risk tolerance.
Yeah, and you could look back at most any downturn. Let's just take the most recent one with the COVID downturn. Who ended up faring better? The person that jumped out because they were worried, had that knee-jerk reaction, or the person who stuck with that long-term plan? Market timing inherently difficult, and we end up having more likelihood of that knee-jerk reaction, John, if we are overexposed to risk, which happens because of a lack of monitoring and continuing to update the plan.
Well, that's right, Peter. And sometimes a lot of people don't understand what they're involved, what they're invested in, like I said, things change over time. I heard this morning, I think that Apple is over 7 or 8% of the total S&P 500. Because of their capitalization. So you could end up being in a tech stock are in the S&P 500 thinking I've got this huge variety. But as we know, the top 20 stocks make up 80% of the S&P 500. So as those stocks going up and down, then my portfolio is going to go up and down. I've got to understand what I'm invested in, what the mix is, and what it's going to do, what's going to happen if the market goes down. The last thing we want is for somebody to get in the market, make the wrong call, lose a lot of money, and then spend the rest of their time in a money market account. I've seen that too. I've seen it people. I tell them the story all the time about the guy that I met with in 2018. That when I met with him, he said, I need to tell you, I got my account in the fixed bucket at less than 1%. And I said, well, yeah, that was probably a good call because at that point in time, the market had taken a dip. I said, when did you do it? And he said, I did it in 2002. So for 16 years, he made nothing.
That's the inherent difficulty of timing the market. Got to be right twice. Even if we did have some feeling, some intuition to hop out before a downturn, we've got to know when to get back in. Timing the market, difficult because you got to be right on both accounts there, getting in and getting out, or vice versa, getting out and back in at the right times. And another thing that we want to do, John, is not overpay in taxes. So tip number 3 for planners and savers and investors in 2022 is take full advantage, try to maximize tax advantage retirement opportunities.
Well, Peter, and that's true. And because of the tax situation, and we've said now for several years that we're at the lowest tax bracket we're ever going to be in, but that as we retire, taxes are going up. Taxes are going to be a huge problem for retirees in the future, that we need to do everything we can to make sure that we're in tax advantage retirement accounts, Roth IRAs, life insurance, tax advantage accounts, our annuities, other things if we have after-tax money. We need to make sure that we've done everything we can to invest properly in tax advantage products, because we want to be able to take advantage of certain things in the future to keep ourselves in the lowest tax bracket. Taxes not only affect the amount of money you keep in your pocket, but it's going to affect how much you pay for Medicare and how much you end up having to pay overall in taxes. So we need to make sure that we do the best job we can with that. And there's that has changed. That is one thing, Peter, planning-wise, that has changed so much over the last couple of years because of all the new products, the new life insurance products, the new actuarial tables, which are actually make insurance much cheaper than it used to be because we're living a lot longer. All those things make it advantageous for us to do everything we can to plan for tax advantage.
And one of the rare opportunities also, John, where we sort of know what the future holds, at least at this point, unless something dramatically changes and the administration currently in the office turn around and say the administration that was previously there was right, we should continue doing their thing, and that I don't really care who's in office. That just rarely ever happens. It doesn't seem to anyway. But unless that were to occur, then we know that tax rates are going to go up in just a few short years. 2026, and it's not just on the millionaires or those making more than $400,000, although probably on that group as well. But even the lowest 12% bracket is slated to bump up to 15%. So taking advantage of tax-advantaged retirement savings opportunities really is pretty critical and well-timed.
Well, with all the debt that we've incurred over the past, since 2008, we know that taxes are going to have to go up. We can't keep interest rates low forever. We're going to have higher interest rates and higher taxes. And so it's going to affect a lot of things, home builders, et cetera, home buyers, and also the amount of money we're paying in taxes. So if you have the opportunity at your employer to do a Roth 401k, then that's what you need to be invested in instead of a regular 401. If you have an outside IRA and you have the ability to convert it to a Roth, now's a good time to do that so that we can take advantage of that tax-free growth. And, it makes it more complicated if I say, well, I'll wait till I retire. And then at 65, I'm going to do the conversions then, because as we know, we're on Medicare and our Part B is indexed for inflation. And I've got for income, and I've got several clients now that are paying. I got one client that's paying over $500 a month each for him and his spouse, $1,000 a month, just for Part B, because we did a Roth conversion. Wow. Now, he understood that ahead of time. We explained it to him, and he's willing to do it for a year in order to get that money into a Roth IRA conversion. But if you hadn't planned on that, and that wasn't something you wanted to do, then you need to understand the consequences. And if I can do conversions prior to 65, it's better to go ahead and do it then and pay the taxes.
Yeah, well, for some of us with larger balances in those tax-deferred accounts, John, if we can plan proactively with the potential of saving 5 or 10% off of the tax bill, then paying a couple $100 extra a month may make sense. But that's something that I think each one of us probably you would encourage to consider individually on a case-by-case basis. And that's another area where you and your team help crunch the numbers.
Oh, sure. But the old saying, Peter, would you rather pay taxes on the seedling or on the trunk, on the full-size tree? And so I think I would rather pay taxes on the seedling, get the taxes converted now, and then let that grow tax-free. But everybody's situation is different, and we're more than welcome anybody's more than welcome to give us a call. Let us work them through that.
386-755-9018, 386-755-9018. And John, that segues into the next of our 8 tips for retirement planners in 2022, which is to analyze your current spending and your estimated retirement expenses. That's actually going to help a great deal in crunching the numbers on the tax implications of how we are saving and investing and our income.
Well, sure, Peter. As we know, we need to have an idea of what kind of income we're going to need in retirement. We totally believe in income planning. And so with income planning, I have to know how much money that I'm spending now, how much, so we can use inflation rates and figure out, well, if we're going to retire in 10 years, the amount of money you need now is now this amount of money based on inflation. And then we can work that number through your retirement. Certainly, this is something that a lot of people don't consider. Back in the old days, we used to say, well, if you're going to retire, you're going to need 75% of what you're making now, because you're not going to have to have dry cleaning as much. You're not going to have these other things. But what we found out is because we're much healthier than we were. We're living longer. We're spending more in retirement in the early years than we ever thought we would. And so what we're looking at is you're going to need about 100% of what you're making now. So we need to work that number out, figure out where you are today, and then move forward with inflation. But don't forget, you have to include inflation in these numbers. If you don't, then you're going to run short. And that brings us up to that point about the poverty among people over 65, which is one of a fast growing rate. 2 things are happening to seniors. One is the divorce rate among seniors is higher than any other segment. And a part of that, I believe, is because of financial obligation. A lot of people don't realize that it takes this much money, didn't plan. And so you constantly get in an argument with your spouse about not spending money or spending too much. I hear that all the time with my clients. And then the other thing is that poverty is one of the highest levels among people 65 and older, and growing faster because they haven't planned to keep that money. 40% of all seniors are on Social Security only. That you can't live on Social Security, people. I'm telling you right now, Social Security will barely pay the rent.
It always has been intended to keep you just above the poverty line. And I think that was the original intent, to be an anti-poverty measure, not a support system for retirement, not the lifestyle that most of us are accustomed to anyway. So make sure that you are really analyzing and examining those retirement expenses and controlling that. Budgeting seems to be a 6-letter, 4-letter word. A lot of people don't like thinking about it, but creating that spending plan, thinking about what that is going to look like, important. And John, another tip that can help in that effort, being proactive in dealing with debt. Now, I do have to ask, with interest rates as low as they are and have been, is being completely debt-free and having that paid-off house as important a milestone to determine your retirement readiness as it once was?
Well, there are two thoughts on this process. One is to get totally out of debt. I believe in a more moderation approach to it. When Dad and Mama said to pay your house off, you'd always have your house. They didn't realize that we were going to have the real estate taxes and the insurance costs that we have today. And so a lot of people didn't realize the cost. Houses were $4,000 or $5,000 back then. Now we're looking at $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 in houses just to have a nice home, not a mansion. And so that money tied up, we could be doing better, I think, by earning it and then writing off some of the interest on our taxes if we're able to itemize. So I honestly believe that. I think I'm more worried about saving than I am paying off my house. Now, that said, I don't want any debt that I can't write off. So I don't want credit cards. I don't want installment loans. I want all of those paid with cash, that money we've saved up in the plan, and we have a nest egg or a cushion to cover us so that we can cover those things. Now, that being said, I had a client call this week and said, hey, I want to buy a new car, but I'm going to have to take the money out of my IRA. Knowing that we took the whole $60,000 out of the IRA, we were going to pay taxes on the whole $60,000. I told him to go down to the dealership, get a 0% loan, which he said, hey, that's great because they give me a discount in addition to the 0%. And then we'll take the payments out of the IRA so that we can spread that tax burden out over the next 6-7 years. That to me makes sense too. I want to leverage my money the best I can, but I want to manage my debt so that I don't have excess debt going into retirement.
Number 6 on our 8 tips for proactive retirement planners in 2022. John, refine or define your retirement healthcare strategy.
Well, healthcare is going to be a big part of your retirement. And the problem is the older you get, the more you're going to need healthcare. I mean, that's just natural. Trust me, I know. So we need to redefine, we need to know what we're going to have for retirement, what our healthcare is going to be, and we need to plan for long-term care. And there's many ways that we can have our assets doing more than one thing for us so that we can have income coming in, but also have what they call a doubler for 5 years so that it's going to pay for long-term care or some type of care at the home if I need it. And so that is something that we need to look into. Those out-of-pocket costs are going to be expensive. We need to make sure we get the right Medicare plan. We need to understand what plans we're in, and we need to stay ahead of the changes in Medicare.
Well, again, we are moving through 8 tips for proactive retirement planning in 2022 with John Kuykendall. If you've got any questions, if you would like to review, evaluate, create, or update your current plan, pick up the phone, give a call, 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018. Those HSAs, John, a great opportunity to do some proactive preparations for potential healthcare expenses. And here's opportunity to dual purpose our money, have it be a multitasker for us, can actually make for a pretty good additional retirement savings vehicle also.
Well, that's right, Peter. Very few of us have health savings plans, but if you have one, you need to make sure that you're maximizing the contributions because that money will grow tax-free. And if you use it for medical expenses, it comes out tax-free. Now, if you don't use it and we need to take it out, then the money's going to be taxed based upon whatever the IRA rules are at the time as we take it out. But certainly we need to maximize our HSAs, do the best job we can. If you're eligible for one, you need to fully fund that plan to make sure that you are investing your dollars so they grow tax-free. I think in the article we looked at here, it says less than 10% of current SA holders invest their funds. You can invest those funds just like a mutual fund. And so make sure you get the investment options. And we'll be glad to review those with you too. If you have one, give us a call. We'll be glad to go over that with you and make sure you're invested properly.
Well, again, if you have those questions, give a call, 386-755-9018. John, number 8, understand your retirement income options. A key to retirement preparation and confidence is understanding where that income is going to come from. A lot of different options for it, but you need to understand where yours is going to come from.
Well, that's right, Peter. The one big thing about retirement is when we retire, we pay ourselves. So we're going to be able to pay ourselves a salary based upon how well we've done in retirement and how well we've done retirement planning. Now, so I like to look at a three-leg stool approach, whereas one leg I've got Social Security, one leg I've got and a pension, if I have a pension. Very few of our clients do nowadays. The third leg will be some type of permanent income that's going to come in every month, and I know it's predictable, sustainable through my retirement based upon using my investments. And then the third leg is my growth leg, where I put my other assets in there. I grow them as much as I can, and they supplement my income so that in the down years, when the market's not doing well, I don't have to hit my retirement growth account as much as I normally would, and I can let it grow. There's certainly something to be said about having a multiple approach to income, because we are paying ourselves. And when our money runs out, then we can't pay ourselves anymore. And that's a bad situation when we have to call the kids and say, hey, I need to borrow you some money because I don't have any.
Well, we need to evaluate all of the options fairly, understand the pros, the cons, the benefits, the disadvantages, and that's why the team from Gulf Coast Financial Services is so valuable and has continued to be named best of the best in financial services, is that they can help you to evaluate your options and then craft and create the plan that you are comfortable with, that you feel lasting, ongoing confidence with. If you'd like to take advantage of that time, that opportunity, pick up the phone, give a call, 386-755-9018. That's 386-755-9018. As we have covered on today's program, they will cover with you these 8 time-tested retirement tips, but certainly great to be reminded of these in 2022 as we have had a few challenging years here and sometimes need just a gentle reminder to stay on track and be doing the right things for our financial future. So, John, we always appreciate your reminders here, your guidance, your perspective. Thanks for sharing your time and guidance with us here on Financial Focus.
Thank you, Peter. It was great to be here. Have a good week.
Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for more Financial Focus by visiting GulfCoastFinancial.net. The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only, without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for a particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature and not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs. Early withdrawals may subject the owner to penalties, fees, or taxes. John Kuykendall is registered with and securities are offered through Kovac Securities Inc., member FINRA SIPC, found online at www.kovacsecurities.com. Advisory services are offered through Gulf Coast Financial Services Inc., a registered investment advisor in Florida. Gulf Coast Financial Services Inc. is not affiliated with Kovac Securities Inc. or Kovac Advisors Inc. Past performance is not indicative of future results. All investing involves risk. Investment decisions should be based on your own goals, time horizon, and tolerance for risk. Due to various factors including changing market conditions and/or applicable laws, the content may no longer be reflective of current opinions or positions.